come here to do the town's business, Lord, we just pray, just give us all wisdom and direction, and Lord, just keep your hands on us and just everyone involved with this meeting tonight. Just keep your hands on it, give us peace and understanding, Lord. Just let's do your will in all the business we conduct, Lord. And we just uplift the holy name of Jesus in your precious name. Amen.
Pledge. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting to order. Before we go any farther with the agenda, I need to ask for an amendment to the agenda. Bob Hunter is here and he wants to push to the front again like last time and see our opinions on the resolution for the on-floor trails.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, very good. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, Ms. Taylor, if you would be so kind as to ask that Bob Hunter to come in, please. Yeah, ask Bob to come in.
Bob and Blair both.
Oh, Blair's out there too? Okay, good.
You want to go first?
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Good afternoon or evening.
Good.
How are you?
Yeah,
Good to see
How are
you.
you?
To see y'all again. I think it's been a couple weeks, and we happened to, Blair and I had some DOT people we were showing all the areas we needed them to consider in the future for DOT trail projects. DOT started doing some trail projects, so we had them up here, and we showed them the site down there that we're dealing with tonight, and we also then drove them so that they would know what we'd be looking for once we leave the town here and go up towards Camp Greer and that area up through there. And we actually rode up to Camp Greer and stopped, showed them kind of where that would be going. And then we actually rode them on down and to Catawba Falls so they could see that. And that's back open. There were a lot of people there for that. And so that's going to be an important area. And I wasn't aware of it, but the Rutherford Trace. Are y'all familiar with the Rutherford Trace? And that's where the 2,700 or 2,800 of the volunteers met out there in that meadow up from McDonald's up through there. So that has a lot of historical significance. Besides it being the route to go up to Catawba Falls, it will be an important area in the future for us to look and see if we can get a connector up that way. But tonight we were here I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and you had a public hearing that was required, and the part-up application is being prepared. I think I mentioned that Heather Cotton, who's had a lot of experience in these applications, she works for the city, and she's doing this on a volunteer basis for the town of Old Fort, and so we appreciate her doing that and the town for letting her do it, the city of Marion. And then Blair's working with her also on that. So that application has to go in by June 1st. We're on target to do that. Once you pass the resolution tonight, I think you have before you the resolution. You should have before you a copy of the county's resolution, which where they met last week and agreed to put up $100,000 towards your project. So we're thankful for McDowell County, for the commissioners, and for doing that, obviously, and for Blair and them loaning her to work on this project. She'll be designated as your administrator, and as I mentioned last time we were here, they've loaned her to the Friends of Final Floor State Trail to help with us in this effort. We've got everything organized, and things are really going well. And unfortunately, the money situation is much more difficult now, but the part of funds we think will still be will still be available in the fall. And this project, as we mentioned, we think has a high priority of being funded. You have a letter before you that'll be included in the part of package that basically says that normally part of requires you have control of the property, and we have to send this in by June 1st. And as you'll see, it'll probably be in July before we actually get this lease. It's scheduled to go before the Council of State in July. I found out and just got an update a little bit ago that the lease has been, the purchase was approved last year. So, you know, if you remember, it was bond money. So that was all approved last year by the Council of State. But because it's a less than fair market value lease, it's for 30 years at $1 a year. So it has to go back before the Council of State. The lease does. And it has to go before governmental operations also. That's a legislative committee. So both of those are in the works. The lease is being reviewed has to be reviewed by the Attorney General staff. I've asked for a copy of it. As of now, I don't have one, but as soon as I get one, I'll certainly get it to y'all. So I think everything is proceeding along. The application is been readied and in there, and there's no official name or anything yet. We figured that since the arrowhead is the symbol of the old fort, and that the property that's been purchased was formerly the Bud Hogan, is known as Bud Hogan property. Actually, it was owned by a corporation that's owned by Arrowhead Corporation, so that kind of fits as well. And so we'll be discussing with y'all and later on how to brand it so we get the best marketing value out of it. But I think that's pretty much everything. So you have the 100 from the private donor, and you have a letter from Wes Shelley that he has that in his trust account, and you have the resolution from the county. So the last remaining thing is for y'all to pass your resolution, I believe. Be glad to answer any questions, and Blair's here as well.
I want to personally thank you, Bob and Blair, because this has been in the making for years. It really has. Been trying to figure out a way to get a park for the town and be part of the Farmer Ford Trail. Ever since this board voted it in, it's been something we've been pushing for. And if it hadn't been for you two, then I don't think this would have been possible. So I want to say, for me personally, thank you.
Well, thank y'all. We're enjoying working on it. A lot of people are working on it. By the way, we took the DOT people down and rode them on that property down there, the Arrowhead Corporation property. It's about 18 acres, and then the piece right behind it is the Gurley property. So if you haven't been on it, it's been freshly mowed right now, so it's a good time to, but you better wait till after the rain is supposed to start getting heavy, so you may have to wait a few days. It was dry when we drove on it. I think it was Thursday we were down there, but thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate that.
All righty, gentlemen. Resolutions before you. Like he said, the county commissioners have already done their resolution. Also, you have a copy of the letter from the attorney that the private donor, they have that 100,000. So it's all up to us now.
I make a motion we adopt it.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate it. And we'll stay in touch.
Very good. This is going to be an exciting project.
Yes, great.
Have a good one.
All right. Now we'll go to public comments. First on the list is David Blackwell.
David.
Well, Mr. Blackwelder, if you would.
Oh, I gotta stand now.
Before you begin, we're giving everybody 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
We have been given 5 minutes, but it's like we have so many, we have got to go to 3 minutes.
Then I'm
So-
gonna make it just as fast as I can.
All righty, sir. It's up to you now.
I'm not coming here to tell you to do one thing or another. I'm convinced I'm probably not the right one to lead Old Fort Mountain music. That's gonna be up to y'all. I have zero tolerance, zero, for alcohol and drug-related misbehavior. If Roy Cooper himself walked in there in a condition, I'd want him arrested or thrown out the door, one or the other. And that's the way I feel about that. Now on this other, there's been a survey, I know y'all are all aware, that goes around. I say, don't pay it any attention because it's skewed. Question number 6 on there says, do you support the Alderman's stated intention to pass new laws prohibiting beer and wine sales on Sunday in Old Fort? The two choices. Yes, I support the Alderman. I want to discourage new restaurants from opening in Old Fort. And B, no, I do not support the Alderman. Well, exactly what answer you think they're going to get on there? And that's just one of several. Remember this, Hillman and Kitsbo did not elect any of you on this board. Not at all. You were elected by the entire town. It's a no-win situation, guys. The way I see it, you can do one of 3 things. Nothing at all, get rid of the ordinance that is long-standing, or you can alter it. But either way, you're going to be roasted. So just get ready for the heat. Whether I agree with you or not, I'm going to support you 100% because I know how it is. How close am I on time, timekeeper?
You're good.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to say this. I know from experience, Rick Hensley has been the best mayor this town's ever had. He cares about this town. He's the only one that's really rolled his sleeves up and got dirty. I know because I've been right there with him several times. And God help us if we ever get to the point where he says, I'm through with this, I'm going to throw my hands up. That's all I got to say, believe it or not. And I'm going home, y'all. I ain't staying out there in that parking lot.
Oh, come on, David. Stick
With
around.
the good church-going people that's over there and sells on a beer. Remember this, that thing is not, as Jeff Parker would say, it's not just appeared out of nowhere. I was on the ordinance committee. I've read the ordinances. It's long-standing. It's got a date on it too. All you got to do is find it. Plus the fact, this reprobate governor, the out-of-control legislator, and our mouse of a senator has betrayed small towns like this all over this state. They don't care about the vote of the people, and they proved that. And we'll be better off when we're gone. So my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
See you later.
Thank you, David.
Next on the list will be David Billstrom.
Billstrom.
Yeah.
Is that the list you got? Is that the list you
Leave my phone behind today.
Yes. That's it. I just wonder how many is on there. Is that the list you got?
Yeah, everybody that's on there is going to speak.
Oh, it's 6 right?
All right, here's David. Hello, Mr. Billstrom. How are you?
I'm putting this over here this time.
Okay. We have changed the times. Everybody has 3 minutes. We have so many people that wants to speak, so.
I don't think I've ever done it in 3 minutes, but I'll do my best.
All righty.
Gentlemen, wanted to bring you up to date on Kitsbo. We celebrated 8 weeks of PPE production on Friday. So in 8 weeks, we did 41,736 face shields. Almost all of those went to Western North Carolina. We did 25,618 face masks. They were all sewn a couple hundred feet from here. That works out to 49 shipments a week on average for 8 weeks. So one of the things I want you guys to know is that I'm very proud of all those people because most folks would have sheltered at home, but they came in every day and they still come in every day. So that's one of the things I want to say. You might ask what's happening next, and one of those things that's happening is we've asked most of them to become permanent employees. And at Kitsbo, that means 100% health care we pay for. We were at 27 employees on March 21st. We're at 52. And we're hiring between 10 and 15 more. That's going to bring our investment here to $2.1 million in equipment and construction. So one piece of that is the ride house. So the ride house is a place where you go before you go on your hike or your bike ride, or when you get back. Good bathrooms, open to the public. I think those will be the only ones on that street. We're going to have complimentary locks so they can go in and have a meal at the brewery. We need that to be open on the weekends. So Mr. Carlton's not here today, but he came to our press conference with the governor's office, and afterwards he asked me to let him know if there's anything we could do. Mayor, you came to our ribbon cutting on December 13th.
I am here.
He's
I'm
there.
actually on,
We got him on virtual, he's in the
You
hospital.
guys should have
bed.
warned me.
I'm on Zoom right now, so
Okay.
I'm here from the Charlotte hospital.
So Mr. Carlton asked what he could do for us, and the mayor asked what he could do for us on the ribbon cutting. And I'm here to ask for that. What we'd like you guys to do is nothing. We've put a lot into this town in 6 months, and we've created 52 jobs, and we're going to create at least another 10. We need the weekend to sell all weekend, not just on Saturday. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brandy Hillman will be next.
Must be NASCAR.
Well, I'm hoping they're staying 6 feet apart. Hello,
Hey.
how are you?
Brandy, are you?
I'm nervous. Trying.
Before you begin, because we have so many people who want to speak, we have went from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. So,
Okay.
all right.
Well, I've timed mine at 4.5. I will do what I can to get through this. So, I gave all of you guys a packet. I hope you got it. It's a lot in there, and I realize we won't be able to follow through it at all. But please let me know if you have any questions about it afterwards. So y'all know I'm Brandy with Hillman Beer, and also a board member of Old Fort Forward. Old Fort Forward is a nonprofit created by a group of business owners to help promote the growth of businesses in Old Fort. At the last meeting, you all decided it would be helpful to reach out to town residents and take a survey about the opinion of Sunday alcohol sales. And we thought that was a great idea. So Old Fort Forward was born, and we created that survey. In your packet, attachment 1 shows the results from the 5 primary survey questions. I do want to note quickly one of those, since it does relate to Sunday alcohol sales. 91% of respondents registered to vote in Old Fort do not support the creation of a new ordinance banning Sunday alcohol sales. Also in your packet is a copy of a letter, attachment 2, sent to the Alderman, the Mayor, and Hillman Beer from the Gateway Mountain Properties Owner Association, showing their interest in support of Sunday alcohol sales. It is clear that Old Fort wants Sunday alcohol sales and growth in its community. What is also clear is the economic impact this industry can have on a community. Attachment 3 in your packet is a screenshot from the National Brewers Association. It shows the economic impact of craft beer in North Carolina from 2018. In the last meeting, you shared 3 points of concern in regard to Sunday sales. 1, safety and security of the public. 2, that alcohol was a disease. And 3, the objection of some of the churches in town. I actually spoke with Chief Lytle on the topic of safety and his concern. His concern was a 3-hour window on Sunday nights where there wasn't any local law enforcement on duty. And I shared with him that Hillman Beer would be happy to hire an off-duty officer for that time period. Also, Hillman Beer has had a great working relationship with the ABC and its alcohol law enforcement division. We have worked with Special Agent Cox, head of the ALE, in the past, and will continue to communicate and work with her and Agent Trentham going forward. We are excited to have them visit once the staff is hired to review proper serving and safety procedures. We also require all of our staff to complete the online training Responsible Alcohol Seller Program, which is also known as RASP. before they even can serve one alcoholic drink. In your packet, you'll also find a letter, attachment 4, from Mr. Alan Lawrence, Marion Chief of Police, to Mr. Bob Boyette, City Manager, which addresses their recent experience in Marion in relation to safety and alcohol sales. Attachment 5 in your packet is a letter from Mr. Steve Little, the Mayor of Marion, addressing his experience with public safety and the effects from recent brewery and bar openings in Marion, and that it has all been positive. And I believe they're on the agenda to speak to you today as well. On the second point, the CDC does not list alcohol as a disease according to their website, but it does describe excessive alcohol use as one of the 4 main risk factors for preventable chronic diseases. The other 3 are tobacco use, lack of physical activity, and poor nutrition. Not allowing 3, is that time? 3 minutes. 3 minutes already? Well, I will share my letter with you tomorrow. By email, I hope you can forward it to them. Yes? And I hope Mr. Effler will share with you his experience coming to see the brewery the other day, and that it is more of a community space and restaurant than it is a bar and pool hall, okay? Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next on the list will be Bob Boyette. Oh, Bob, the blue square there? Yeah.
Okay.
Come on in, we're all restricted on time because we have so many, so we have got everybody down to 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
I've got some handouts.
Okay, great.
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
How are you? Thanks, Ryan. Mayor, hope you're well.
Oh, good. You?
Just hope you're well.
Okay. All right, I will talk fast. Mayor Little, Chief Lawrence, and I were asked to come by Ms. Hillman to provide information about the city's experience regarding businesses serving alcohol. Mayor Little can't attend due to his wife having surgery and sends his regrets. Let me start by saying that the city of Marion does not presume to tell the town of Old Fort how to conduct its business or what laws that you should have. We're just here to provide information on our experience. I'll note that I've worked in municipal government in North Carolina for almost 27 years, 23 as a municipal manager, and the last 19 plus as city manager here in Marion. So I have come to see best practices, how small towns can achieve economic development, and what works and what doesn't work. Since 1984, 3 votes have taken place in the city of Marion to allow all forms of alcoholic beverages to be sold in the city, including sales of beer, wine, and liquor for both on and off-premises consumption. As a result of alcohol being sold and served in the city, there's been no impact on the police department or any other city services, and Chief Lawrence will talk more about that when he speaks. Allowing alcoholic beverages to be sold in Marion has provided revenues for the city and allowed for investments in downtown development, beautification, economic development programs, and donations to outside agencies that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. In recent years, the opening of restaurants, tap rooms, a brewery, meadery, an arcade, and other similar businesses selling and serving alcohol have been instrumental to the revitalization of downtown Marion and led to additional retail businesses opening in the downtown area, with more businesses currently under renovation and planned for the future. While it's correct to say that the sale of alcohol has not been responsible for all of downtown Marion's success, I would venture to say that without alcohol sales being allowed, downtown Marion would not have experienced anywhere close to the level of resurgence it has in the last few years. When City Council considered and ultimately unanimously decided to call for a public vote in 2017 to allow for malt beverages to be sold at other than hotels, motels, and restaurants, which ended up passing by an overwhelming margin, and then considered and ultimately unanimously voted later that year to adopt a brunch bill allowing alcohol sales to start at 10 a.m. on Sundays, we looked at which cities in Western North Carolina allowed for the unrestricted sale of alcohol. We quickly determined that all cities and towns of Marion size or larger, or basically any size for the most part, and definitely all communities we would want to be compared to economically, and which will be described as economic successes, allowed for unrestricted alcohol sales. Marion is now in that category, and we're pleased with the results. As difficult as it is for small towns and rural areas to achieve economic success, our mayor and city council believe that we can't afford to restrict sales of alcoholic beverages. So what have been the results of the elimination of local restrictions on the sale of alcoholic beverages in Marion? We now have vibrant businesses, especially concentrated in the downtown area, almost all of which are owned and operated by local homegrown entrepreneurs. These business owners give back to the community, have worked well together, have created jobs and opportunities for local people to enjoy food, beverages, social activities, and events, and that's led to more visitors coming to Marion. Marion has activity at night and on the weekends for the first time in many decades and perhaps ever. And the public's perception of our downtown area has transformed and is now very positive. We've been thrilled to see the new businesses which have opened or plan to open in Old Fort, including Kitspo, Hillman, Whaley, and others. We would have been ecstatic to land such businesses in Marion and hope that some or all of these great places will consider an expansion of Marion in the future. In closing, I want to relate that Marion's experience with the sale of alcoholic beverages in all forms has been extremely positive. It's not created any negative issues. And with Old Fort's alcohol sales starting with just breweries owned and run by local people who will stimulate the economy and give back to the community, that's sure to be the case here as well. And you have a letter from Mayor Little that talks basically about the same thing, and you can look at that at your leisure. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
I have a question for Bob.
Bob,
Yes, sir.
we have Andrew Carlton on virtual.
Oh, okay.
He,
Yes, sir.
I'm on Zoom down here. I know you've been asked to come and pitch alcohol sales on Sunday in Old Fort, but would it not be beneficial to Marion for us to turn that down in order for y'all to maintain the business in Marion? I mean, are you not cutting your nose off to spite your face?
That's a good question. Selfishly, yes, probably so. The way sales taxes are distributed, any retail sales that take place anywhere in McDowell County help us. It doesn't matter if it's an Old Fort, Nebo, Marion, anywhere. So for that part, it does help us. But selfishly, if the only alcohol sales take place in Marion, that's probably better for us. But we were just asked to share our experience, which has overwhelmingly been positive.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I as well have some few handouts here, or actually just a copy of my letter here that I.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, I know it's gonna be a struggle.
Sorry, Chief. Should I try to get Alderman at this
Well,
time
it
instead
don't
of Chief?
matter.
I'm
Well,
gonna
first-
have to step away from the meeting for a little while.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
First of all, thank you guys for allowing us to be here and being able to present. And I typically don't read, but I'll try to summarize. It's very short, but I'll read most of this. But I will say that I have had the honor and privilege of being in law enforcement for 21 years, and furthermore, the honor and privilege and very humbled to serve as the police chief for the city of Marion, and have had the privilege to do that for 7 years. In a few days, May 21st to be exact, will be my 7-year anniversary. So I'll just say since that time, I came back to Marion. Let me say that first of all. Came back to Marion. I'm originally a McDowell County native, but I came back to Marion at a time when some of these places were starting to come in, try to establish themselves within the city of Marion. So I've seen our city explode with excitement, enthusiasm, especially in our downtown area. And I would credit most of that to many of our young entrepreneurs that started businesses that are centered around the sale of, and what I think is a very important term here, local craft alcoholic beverages. And I can recall being president at city council meetings when those owners presented their ideas to city council. Did we have concerns? Absolutely we had concerns. And what issues that may cause for us as a police department. In 21 years in law enforcement, I've seen a lot. I've been around a lot and seen some of the issues that may be caused. And one of the big questions, were we going to need additional officers? We're at 27 full-time sworn now for the police department. So were we going to need any additional staff? And obviously, I'm going outside this letter a little bit, but I had the privilege to work in another community for 15 years, which was a little bit larger city, which had a lot of these establishments. And based on some of that discussion with other partners in law enforcement, we did not add any additional staff, but we took it another route. And I can say that several years later, there have been no issues at all that we can pinpoint. They've all been positive. Everything that we've dealt with, we've in turn formed partnerships with people like Brandy and her establishment, and open lines of communication. We can pick up the phone, we can go by and visit with them anytime. And if there's something we see that they may need to do or improve on, they're very open and willing to do that. Very early on, we started working with our state alcohol law enforcement branch in trying to get their serving staff at these establishments to do what's called over-service training, to where if people are serving alcohol, they're able to recognize somebody who maybe has had something at home and then came in and trying to have something there, and they recognize impairment. And the state branch is very willing to do that. These establishments were very willing and eager to complete that training, and they did. Many of these locations are family oriented, and they make that known to their customers. We do National Night Out every year, which we host in Marion. The chief has had his agency there. It's a free family event that we do each year just to try to give back to the community. And a lot of those establishments, if it's said, hey, maybe we can be a water station for you, maybe we can put out coolers with water in it. So that's a partnership that we welcome. They're willing to help us put on our event. We see a different type of clientele at these locally owned establishments, serving those craft beers versus the nationwide chain restaurants, and I'm not knocking any of them, or sporting venues that serve cheaper priced domestic brews in other communities, or they have specials that they may run. So, and you don't typically see a lot of impairment when you see that sort of thing. On the other side, you do with some of the larger chain type stuff. I've witnessed these establishments contribute back to the community through fundraisers and events that bring the community together. I've had the pleasure of serving on different boards and committees with a few of the owners, and they're always willing. Typically, the city manager and I have served with them, and they're always willing to step up. If somebody says, hey, we need somebody to do this, they're always willing to step up and say, you guys took a chance on us, so we want to help the community. And that last, or near the last paragraph there, being a McDowell native, I can say there's a great difference between the Marion that I grew up in, what it looked like years ago in comparison to what it is now and how it's exploded. Many people get the credit for that, but I think a big part of it's owed to our young entrepreneurs mentioned here that I've talked about that took a chance on opening businesses in our city and made it successful. I can attest that it's nice to drive by these locations and see a business full of people holding nightly games or events that bring friends, families, and the community together. And I feel like there's a lot of other business ideas that have been born in those conversations. But again, all I can say is that we've not experienced any issues. If we had, I would tell you. We've not seen any increases in our DWI numbers, and we have. I don't know of any calls for service that we've had at any of our downtown establishments, and I'll certainly tell you if we have. So our experience has been very positive. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Next on the list will be Stephanie Tweedy.
She's not here for that, but I'll ask her.
Oh, okay. Ask her if she wants to speak for that.
That was a little more creepy.
Yes. 27 full time.
It's a big difference in one.
Yeah. Tax rate's different for that. Yeah. Hello. Before you begin,
Yes, sir.
we put everybody to 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes.
I won't need but 2.
Oh, okay. Well, we just let you know you have 3 minutes.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead and begin.
All right. Mayor Hensley, Alderman. I just wanted to say again what a privilege it was to be working on the Planning and Zoning Committee or Board. Though we didn't receive any formal communication, we understand that you are going to do a restructure. And while we find this might not be in total compliance with your other ordinances requiring a public meeting to amend or change an ordinance, we want to formally offer you our resignation. On a personal note, I'd like to say that I was sorry to come to this place because it feels like the sentiment is no women, no people of color, no progress. I thank you for your time.
Next, let's keep going.
All right, Tanya Hampton. That comes from, I had no idea.
I need to share some documentation if I could.
Well, before you begin, everybody is limited to 3 minutes. We have 5 minutes, so if you have handouts, you can hand them out. And then,
Okay.
let's see.
Thank you. How are you, Tony?
I'm good. You look nice.
Thank you.
You look
Quit flirting, Mayor.
I can't help it. You got a good looking hair.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'll give you one, Renee. I just have to keep this one to go by. I put my glasses on. They're wet. I'm sorry. I'm going to take 3 more than 3 minutes. So. Okay. Hello.
Hello?
Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Most of you all know me. I'm Tanya Hampton. I'm not here in capacity of mayor's wife, and I'm not here in capacity of registered deeds. I'm here as Tanya Hampton, and I'm here to speak for my elderly mother, my elderly neighbors, my community that has come to me that has not had the opportunity to have an email or a computer to go on, that has said, hey, would you speak for me and voice what it is that I want you to say, and they've given me their words. If you remember, I believe in 2012, we were asked to vote in November on same-sex marriage between a man and a woman. Also, we were asked to vote later on in a couple years for North Carolina ID for people to vote. If you remember those 2 scenarios, the state made the decision for us to take it away after North Carolina voiced their opinion and said, this is what we want.
It's true.
They have basically done the same thing to Old Fort, with the state coming in and saying, this is a mandate, you have to do this. So my thing as a citizen is, I just want to say, I'm not going to sit on my hands and say the state is going to make a decision for me for what I want this time. I didn't want several of the laws that were passed to be taken away from me, because I feel like when I make that vote, that's what I want. And for one judge or one federal court judge to make that opinion for me was wrong, I felt like. So I'm here today to say, why conform? The state has given everybody 6 days of drinking beer. Why should I conform my religious beliefs and say it's okay to drink your beer and have everything you want on Sunday? In Exodus 28, it says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. You've got 6 days to drink. Please remember to keep the 7th day holy. Serve your food. Serve your hors d'oeuvres, whatever it is. Play your cornhole. That's wonderful. But you came to this community, and I'm part of this community. Don't make me conform to what you believe. Because by doing that, you're saying I don't have a voice. Why should your voice be louder than mine? I'm a resident. We've raised 5 children here, raising my grandchildren here, which plan on living here, I'm sure, for a long time. Our children have come back to Old Fort. So I'm just saying, if you sit down on your hands and you sit quietly, you won't have an opinion. I'm here for the elderly in my family that can't speak, like I said. please hear us and hear our voices for the people that say no. Because we don't want to be pushed, because there's more people to speak for it in the parking lot than against it. I found out on social media, if you become one of the ones to speak out against something that doesn't go with the flow, you're ostracized. So I'm just saying, please consider the residents in this town that say no, and to keep the day Sabbath. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot
Next will be-
I forgot the survey. Read that question, please, number 6.
Okay.
It's contradicting.
All right, next one on the list will be Steve Bush. Steve?
Gentlemen?
If you would, because we have so many people, we've cut down times to 3 minutes now.
Mine's pretty quick and easy. I'm here to talk about growing entrepreneur Old Fort. We have talked to McDowell Technical Community College, and we are back on schedule for June 1st. It is a Monday night at 6 o'clock. We'll be doing that on Mondays and Wednesdays for a series of 4 weeks. Want to make sure that the alderman and the mayor, that you guys are still in compliance or agreement that we utilize the Rocket Building. If that's the case, then we will continue to work with Renee on making sure that we get in access to that as well. I do want to say real quick in closing, as the McDowell Chamber of Commerce, and having been here for the last meeting, remind you guys that there are options, and we are very pro-business. We're not for or against alcohol, we are pro-business. And economic development, you heard from Mr. Boyette and those guys. Mr. Carlton spoke about taking off your nose, spite your face. Well, same thing can be challenged to the board here. If you kill one of these businesses, economic growth and development, what's the message that you're sending to the rest of the people that want to come here and do business with you? So I challenge you to take this very seriously. You guys are the ones that voted, but remember, it is an elected board, so please take to heart everything that was said tonight. Weigh your decisions respectfully. I challenge you to do nothing. We talked about that once before. Mr. Carlton had brought it up. Let it go, see what happens. Let these guys do what they do best and see what happens from then and go from there. So that's all I have to say, and I hope that you guys have a great evening, and thank you for the time to speak. And if it's okay, I'll work with Renee on getting the Rocket Building secured for our entrepreneur program. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, next will be Tammy Moore Cope. Ms. Cope, if you would please, the blue square, and because of the limited people that we have, everybody's committed to 3 minutes. So whenever you're ready to begin.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Moore Cope. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I'm the administrator of a group called McDowell Business Showcase, Small Business Showcase. It has 1,100 members and 300 businesses. I started the group during the shutdown that the governor had, so the small businesses could get as much exposure and free advertising as they could during the shutdown. What it was is the businesses could go on there and let people know who they were. The restaurants mostly did it so people know they were open and could get the deliveries, the curbside deliveries and everything. What I have come this evening to do is to see what forms I would need to fill out to have a small business weekend here in Old Fort, so that after the shutdown is over, the small businesses could set up tables or booths and let people know who they are, what they offer, and we would have craft vendors, food trucks, face painting, balloon vendors, and bands. We're going to have Old Fort's Got Talent. We're working on having beauty contests from the little babies up to the teens, and we're also going to have one for the married women called Mrs. Old Fort. We're going to have I'd say it, Old Fort's Got Talent. We're going to have bands. I hope to have that in the mini park. I would hope that you would have a good faith effort and let us have the depot at no charge. We're going to have photographers here offering mini sessions, And I just need to know what I would have to do to have that come to fruition. I don't have a date yet. It would be in the fall when there's no events in Marion or events in Old Fort. And I would like to have that on a Friday evening and a Saturday. So all I need is permission to have that, and I would get back with you on dates. But I need to get permission tonight if I could, so I could get my vendors lined up, because they're already getting booked. So all I need is an okay, and then I would come back with a date, if that would be okay.
Gentlemen, what do you think? The only thing that I would see, you require the Bradley Park and the depot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the depot, I don't know if anybody's got, we always rent it out, but I don't know if anybody's got it scheduled. But you don't have a date yet.
No, but I will work with you on
Okay.
getting that. And if you could do that as a good faith effort and not charge, since the businesses have been.
What do you gentlemen think? All right.
I'll make a motion.
Anybody want to say it? All right. All those in favor? All
And
those-
about the
All those opposed, hold on a minute. All those opposed?
about the insurance for the event, would you would I be the one responsible for that? I have a LLC company, and I could purchase that through my LLC for the event, and I'll be sure that you get copies of all that before that happens.
Okay, good.
And is there anything else I need to know before I leave?
No, you just get your date and then get back in touch with our town clerk, and it's good to go.
So I could do that on a Friday evening and a Saturday?
Yes,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
And I'll let you know what it's called. Oh, I have access to billboards for no charge. I have access to graphics at no charge, so it's going to be well advertised.
Okay.
And I'm sure that it's going to be a good success, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list will be Philip LaShawn.
Oh, sorry about that.
Hello.
Hello, gentlemen.
How are you, Pastor?
Y'all stand right here.
Yes, right there.
I give y'all a copy of my, what I had to say. I won't get it all in 3 minutes. But to give you a gist, I appreciate y'all what you do and what you stand for. And I apologize for some of our townsfolk for the way they treated some of you. It's not right. And, but I just thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Philip Wishon Sr. I've lived in Old Fort for around 43 years, been married to my wife 44 years, raised 2 kids in Old Fort, and I pastor Catawba Falls Baptist Church, been there 20 years. Been involved in the prison ministry in the juvenile ministry since 1997, helping in 8 prison revivals a year, and I've served in my community here in Old Fort, helping to coach youth football. I believe I coached your brother in youth football. I've also served as a guardian ad litem. Me and my wife have, serving children who's going through DSS through no fault of their own. And I'm not here to put the Hillmans down or anybody else that's trying to start a business. I believe they're probably good people with good intentions, but I believe they're just looking at one side of the fence. They're not looking at the other side. They're looking at the money, and I have my convictions about alcohol. And if I could vote, I'd vote no to the sale of alcohol, period, not just on Sunday. And I believe there's a lot of good town people here that would vote no too. Here's what I like to suggest to y'all. Y'all have done y'all's best, and you can't do but so much. And I like to suggest to you, why don't you just put it for the town people and let the town people vote on it. I believe you have enough good people here in this town. Everybody you see out here is not from Old Fort. And a lot of those good church people. I just had a conversation with a preacher out here and asked him what in the world he's doing up here carrying a sign, vote on Sunday. I'd vote no. And there's a lot of good people, I believe, that would vote no. And I believe y'all have done everything you can. Again, I appreciate what you're doing. Some have said that Hillman's is different than a bar, but if you look up the definition of a bar, the state-imposed breweries, they meet that definition. Mr. Hillman said they paid their bartenders $30 an hour. That's on YouTube. And so it must be a bar. Some have said these breweries are not like a typical bar where drunks hang out. One fella even said he and his preacher went and had Bible study over a cold one. It may not be a typical bar where drunks hang out, but I guarantee you it's a breeding ground for drunks, which produce drug addicts and drug addiction. I've been in prison ministry since '97, and every man I talk to in there will tell you, they started out drinking. They started out with a beer, and it led on up to another addiction. That buzz was fine for a while, but then it got to be a little bit better. Is it 3 minutes up? Okay. Look on the back page. I'd like to come back to you later and talk to you about the effects that's going to come out, that comes out of breweries and alcohol, and we're trying to build a children's home here in Old Fort. Got Ebenezer Christian Children's Home down in Wilkesboro going to help us out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next on our list is Corey Ellis.
Thank you.
Is it right if I leave this right here? Good afternoon, gentlemen.
All right, good to see you. Before you begin,
Okay.
we've limited everybody to 3 minutes.
No problem, I'll be short and sweet.
Okay.
All right. I'm a Old Fort native, 31 years. I was just wanting to come in and tell you guys maybe a different perspective because half of my family's income is dependent on Hillman Beer. My wife's an employee. And I know this is all about Sunday sales. It is really impressive at the location in Nashville what some of these beer tenders can make on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon. It's some big money days. And that can be a huge cut, you know, out of our income. So I was just trying to speak on behalf of her and the other beer tenders, the other employees of Hillman Beer. That's a really big day for them. So I hope you can take it in your heart to see that that's not only affecting, you know, the Hillmans and all the other businesses, but it also affects the employees and their families. So this isn't really my thing to come out in public and speak, but I was here and I tried to say something on behalf of her. So it doesn't just affect, it affects all of us. So if you could try to take that into consideration when you make your vote. And I know you guys want to get out of here and go home to your families. And
That's fine. You take your time. You got 3 minutes.
no, that's it. That's short and sweet. Just
Does anybody have any questions for him?
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you,
Thank
Corey.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's all I have on public comment. So now we will go back to our agenda. I have a Brandon Bone and Levita Logan. Are they out there? If you would, please ask them to come in. And then I'll go with my public comments and then we'll move on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Special guest tonight. Her mom works
Come on
until
in
10,
and
so.
help yourself there at the blue square. Make sure you keep 6 feet apart. All
right.
Good. And I know it'd be hard for her. She needs to.
One of her best friends. all of Old Fort.
Please go right ahead.
Okay, I guess all y'all know me. I'm Levita Logan, lifetime resident here in Old Fort, and I'm also a member of the Old Fort Community Forum, and I'm the project consultant for the people on the move for Old Fort. And so I got the packet
Yes, ma'am.
that we gave y'all. I just want to give you a little history about the 04 Economic Development Team, strategy team. We started back in January, and we had like 3 meetings until, you know, the excuse me, until the COVID-19 pandemic started. So we have been meeting also virtually, and what this for economic development is to create a more comprehensive plan with an equity lens for 04. So that's pretty much the history of the economic development team, and it's also then the people on the move is spearheading this economic team. So I'm like,
hi, Brandon Bone, resident of here in Old Fort. I just want to say I'm here in support of Levita and people on the move, and moving forward with this great group of individuals that have been gathering together to try to create an economic development strategy and basically to get partners involved. And I feel that this is an opportunity where people continue to come to the table, sit down, have a discussion, figure out what there is to offer, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint in different venues. And of course, this includes everything from outdoor activities to local businesses that are already present to upcoming businesses that are looking to be here in Old Fort and to share and elaborate on all the great things that Old Fort has to offer. And so part of this packet that you have, is really to ask for your help and for your inclusion. And I really want to say, first and foremost, thank you to both Renee Taylor and Wayne Stafford, and of course Jerome Effler, already sitting down to the table. They were participating in a previous meeting and were able to share information about past efforts and really just the experiences that, the long-time experiences that all three of these people have already seen here in Old Fort, the past procedures with trying to move forward with an economic development plan, and I think that they're really important to this entire development process. So this is really, for Levita and I, an opportunity to ask for a letter of support from this board, and we would like for that letter of support really to just continue the discussion and to bring in the equitable partners to participate in Old Fort. And some of those partners include the Gateway Foundation, Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, and the most important beginning strategy point is to align the funders to invest and implement components that arise from looking towards a comprehensive plan. So that comprehensive plan is an estimated $75,000 to complete. And so this is the kind of first reach out and say, hey, we have somebody lined up that is willing to fund this and help us in this endeavor. And of course, we're looking for this board's support. And that letter would enable these connections to be the most effective and of course the most inclusive.
So whenever we had wrote the letter, we had put out a petition on Facebook, and if you see where it says, excuse me, I'm a little nervous. It says the Western North Carolina petition signatures was 238. And also, I want to focus on the number of the 28762, which is 99, because most of the forms are formed up from people from out that don't live in city limits and the ones that do live in town limits, and we want to include them as well. So the number that I want to focus on is the number from the 28762, which is 99 signatures. And all together was 484 signatures from people in state, out of state, in county, and out of county.
And just to quickly go over how this letter of support is, I guess I should say, really who it all is coming from and some of the amazing partners involved here. And this includes Steve Bush and Kim Effler from the McDowell County Chamber, Jason McDougald from Camp Greer, of course Levita and Tanya Plummer and LaWanna Keaton from People on the Move in Old Fort, Noah Wilson for Mountain BizWorks, Stephanie Swipson Twitty from Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation, Paula Avery from the West Marion Community Forum, Ginger Webb from the Community Engagement Project, Mary Snow from the Equitable Community Strategies, Amy Parker and Parker Legwear and Mill Creek Properties, Lisa Ellis, Stephanie Tweedy from the Old Port Planning Board, the David Billstrom and Jennifer Caldwell from Kitspo, Carol Price from the McDowell County Tourism Development Authority, and Jerome Effler, as I mentioned, right here for the Old Fort Alderman, also present again. And again, I want to thank Renee Taylor and Wayne Stafford for being there to keep this moving forward.
So y'all have any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
And
be looking over this.
as you look over it, do you have an idea as far as the timeline goes that this group could hear back from the board and anticipate receiving a letter for the board or a response from the board?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Right now, I can't give you an answer on that one.
All right.
Till we look over all the information and everything, then we get back with you. Hopefully by next town meeting, we might have some opinions.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Well, we'll look forward to that meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
both.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our list, we will go into old business. We already done the Fontaflora Trail, State Trail resolution. All right, the update on the 5-foot. Before I go any farther, I gotta do my public comment. Jumping around. All right, folks, coming up is going to be Memorial Weekend. That being said, this Friday, the 22nd, Town Hall will shut down at 1 p.m. and it will not open back up till the next Tuesday. They're going to do a thorough cleaning, disinfecting, the whole 9 yards. We're going to do our utmost part during this COVID-19, and that will begin at 1 p.m. So anybody that needs anything from Town Hall, any issues whatsoever, please get here before 1 o'clock Friday. That being said, remember Memorial Day. There is a lot of people who have died for everybody to cherish their rights and freedoms that we endure as Americans. The whole point of Memorial Day is to remember those who gave down their life and those who have passed, whether it was in battle or not, but they have served this country. Memorial Day, please be respectful of it, and please remember what it's about. It's not the first day of summer. It's not the first time you get to cook out. Remember the men and women who have laid down their life so you can cherish that picnic or that cookout or the first day of summer.
I just
Mr.
like to
Carlson?
say that the ones that's been to war and hadn't died, but it carries them all the days of their life.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Every one of them. If you see somebody who is a veteran, shake their hand. Say thank you, please. Other countries, you need to visit them. It's amazing how the Americans take what they have for so much freedom, and they take it for granted. Earlier, we had a conversation with Andrew Calton, which he's not here. He's in the hospital. He's undergone this knee surgery, infection, fighting cancer. Folks, prayers be with him. He gave us an update on the summer carnival. He still hasn't heard nothing from them for right now, it's still June the 16th through the 20th, but that's getting real close. So hopefully we'll have some information and we'll get that out. Also, our next town meeting will be June the 15th. So there is all I have in public comments. I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself this one time. On the agenda, we have update on football, the footbridges, the ball fields in Sandlin Park. The ball field is done. That part is being completed. Sandlin Park, Mr. Lytle.
That should be completed in about 2 days. Have 3 more courses to go.
Okay, good.
It's more than 95% complete.
Good. As far as what I've heard from the Bridge Brothers, it's in the making, and so hopefully July the 1st, we'll see the trucks rolling in. Now, if they can get here sooner, they will, but chances are we won't see no activity until July the 1st. But once the bridges, they build them in Pickens, South Carolina, so they'll just bring them up, set them down with a crane. So it's like, hopefully that will be completed by the time school starts. All right. Next on our agenda is the Sunday alcohol sales ordinance. Gentlemen, you have asked for 30 days. You have gotten 30 days. Now it's up to you speak on how you feel again on this issue. We've heard people's comments here earlier. Residents, some not residents, business owners. We need to make a decision. You don't have to now, but it's entirely up to you when you want to do and what you want to do.
I think Andrew was sort of requesting to be put off 30 days so he could be at the next meeting. I don't know if he's talked to anybody else.
He talked to me earlier on the phone. That was his wishes, but because he's not here, I mean, that's just something that you take into consideration. It's entirely up to you four gentlemen right here, how you want to proceed.
I would like to take more time to look at the data. We talked about collecting the data, and there was multiple surveys and multiple, I got an opportunity to go and visit the facility. I know that they had mentioned that they had heard from you, but you guys didn't get to make that happen for whatever reason. And Jamie, I think his schedule was conflicting. I know we talked, and he was going to try to get a chance to go. But it's really an impressive facility, and the investment. I can see the work that they've put in, and just trying to understand how that affects the other businesses. I'd really like to take time to review the data and give them an opportunity to prove themselves. All businesses.
Are you asking for another 30 days, or what are you asking for?
Yeah, and then and also get Andrew's input. It would be nice to hear the data that he's collected.
I make a motion to put it off 30 days.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right. We'll table that till June the 15th at our next town meeting. All right, under new business, you have before you our budget, and for the 2020 to 2021. I hope you guys had a chance to go over it and look at it, and we need to move forward with that. But we also
John.
no, I just want you to, we're presenting it to the public. Yeah, and we'll be talking about it at the next public hearing.
So back on the footbridges, they're not going to move any dirt out of
Well,
that first day,
in
right?
the conversation I had with him, he said he'd like to start with the way the COVID-19 is,
Okay.
and the way the weather is. It's like,
Okay.
it's going to be touch and go, but it's like July the 1st is the date they're definitely shooting for.
Did he have a start to completion end date?
Well, that's when they'll come in. They'll start with the embankments and everything,
Right.
and then hopefully probably after the 4th there, you'll probably see the trucks come in with the cranes and everything with the bridges themselves.
You say like 60 days or?
Well, no, he's saying less, like 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay.
So once the embankments is done and the concrete sets,
Okay.
then they replace the bridges.
Okay.
Good, so,
You gonna do a ribbon cut or anything for the bridges?
yes, we will. I'm hoping we can do that about the time school starts. So, like he said, it depends on the weather. It really does. As far as materials goes, that's not been a problem for them. Of course, down there, they're not as, I don't think South Carolina is as bad hit as North Carolina. So they're trying to keep it that way. So, all right. If you gentlemen don't have anything else, anything else we'll discuss?
On the wall up there, who did we have done that to begin with, Wayne, on that?
I think the inmates,
On Salmon?
when we had those 2-week crews, got them in.
That's when you had Tara White as the director, and she worked with them.
So
So we
they
used
just,
to get
they wasn't tied
inmates
in really,
2 weeks a month.
just set in
They
place
done
and
away with that program.
fell over.
There's a lot that was.
Undermined.
Yeah.
Was there a footer on it much?
No. The only footer that was there was actually sitting on gravel.
Gravel.
Should we break off into a work group and look at Brandon and Levita's presentation? So we can try to start breaking that down, or just take it individually and go back and review it? What do you think, Mr. Mayor?
Me personally, I'd like to look and read every bit of that. I know that they're looking for an economic comprehensive plan, but we have always followed with the county on theirs. That's always kept us in the means as far as finances, for the simple fact is, by doing that, we are in compliance with the law, but we don't have to have a building inspector or have building permits and such as that. We use the county. So it's kind of like, I don't know if theirs is different than the county's. I'd like to take theirs and compare it with McDowell County and see if there's an issue there. So, that's me personally. Now, it's up to you, Jim, how you guys want to do. So, me, I'll try to get in as much reading as I can. Anybody? Anything else, gentlemen? All I need is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All righty, thank you all.